Welcome, MFSN Live. We're here, Waiver Wire Baseball, Week 6, I presume. I'm live with Casey Vlad to the Bone Shinefold. He's live in Pennsylvania, Scranton, right? No, what city
No,
are you in again?
Harrisburg,
Harrisburg.
Pennsylvania. Right by the
Very
sweetest place on earth, Hershey.
Hershey, Pennsylvania, where we love the chocolate bars from Hershey, as we all know. We're coming live. I'm from La La Land, Los Angeles, Lipstick City. And yes, baseball. We're not going to talk about NFL draft. We're not talking NBA. We're not talking about NHL. We may talk about Kentucky Derby, though, which I'm excited about this Saturday.
Well, you can talk about it. I can't talk
Casey,
much about horse
you were
racing.
an expert on horses. We will talk about it at the end. I'm excited to get your
nothing
pick.
of the kind.
Okay, he's not. Okay, but we're live. Waiver Wire, Casey. Let's talk baseball. Tell me what you're looking at. Tell me the top stories. Tell me what you want to start with. I'm all ears. Let's go.
Well, I mean, my top pickup this week is the guy on the cover, and that's Vaughn Grissom, because he's looking like he's going to make his return this week. He's a middle infielder. He's a power speed guy. He stole 5 and hit 5 home runs as recently as 2022 when he was playing every day and healthy, and only 40 games. So you extrapolate that over the season. This is a guy who can get you 20 home runs, 20 RBIs. You know, the big stories are always the injuries. And I don't know, are there any big new injuries this week, Ross, that we should know about?
Nothing. I mean, there's a few, but nothing to talk about. Not like what was happening early in the week. Some minor players, some of the pickups I'm going to mention are players that are hurt, they're filling in right now. But last week was kind of slow. I mean, we had some major injuries. I mean,
yeah, it's nice to not have to talk about major injuries for a change.
Yeah, Vladimir Valdez is back. He pitched a good game in Mexico City over the weekend, which I enjoy. Bueller's coming back for the Dodgers next week, which should be good for owners, obviously. I mean, there's been some really good comebacks, which I'm excited about. And no Garrett Cole comeback yet, Casey. I don't know when that's going to happen. Do you have any reports on that?
No, I haven't heard anything new. They're playing so well right now that I think they're able to take their time and make sure he's fully recovered before they push him out there.
Yeah, I mean, again, Cole and Strider are both like front runners for the Cy Young this year, and either of them are going to be pitching anytime soon. Obviously, Strider's out for the year, and Cole maybe after All-Star break. I have no idea.
Who knows? Yeah,
if the Yankees, if the Yankees are in the playoff hunt, which they are right now, he will come back to play. If Yankees have a huge collapse and they're out of it, he won't be pitching this year. But I think he'll be back. We'll see him back this year. I'm excited about him coming back. My favorite pickup this week, Casey. Well, he's also my fantasy tomb, is Pete Crow Armstrong. He actually went to high school here in Los Angeles. He was, and his mom was actually in the movie Little Big League, which Tony Todd, who's on our network once in a while, stars in. But Pete Crow Armstrong, he's hitting the ball now. I mean, they brought him up last year, and he didn't get a hit. He was like 0 for something. But this year, his first hit was a home run. I mean, it was last week. It was great, and he's been hitting like over 300, and he's bringing in runs. And Cody Bellinger is still hurt, so as long as Bellinger is hurt, Pete Crow Armstrong is going to play.
And if he plays well enough, he's going to stay.
Yeah, I think so too. This kid, highly touted in the minors, Casey. We talked about him before. I mean, do you have him on your charts to pick up at all? Are you looking at him? Do you care about him? What's your take on Pete Crow?
I mean, he's a 5-tool guy. He's done it through the minors. My concern for him, and I think we talked about it last week, was I don't know how successful he'll be at the start. He has too much swing and miss in his game right now. There's a lot, from what I've read, there's a lot of holes in his swing, and at this level, pitchers can find that. So it'll be how well he adjusts and how hard he works to close those kind of gaps in his swing. Certainly something he's capable of doing.
I agree. How much longer can the Houston Astros, first of all, they're losing, and they're not the team they were the past few years. I mean, I think the dynasty's over. If they were ever a dynasty, it's done. I mean, they're in last place.
Feels that way.
and I don't feel the future's bright for them. I mean, their pitching is just getting rocked. Valdez came back, I get that, but they're just not a good team. I mean, and their first baseman, I don't think he has a home run this year, Jose
Well, that's
Abreu.
why I've been
And
banging the drum so hard this
and
last 3 weeks on Loperfido.
I love Loperfido. When is he Conan be brought? When are they going to just pull the trigger?
If it were my call,
when
he'd be up already. I think it's criminal that he's not given a chance. I don't know. I haven't looked to see if he's on the 40-man roster. If he's not on the 40-man roster, they would have to make a move with somebody. They'd have to DFA somebody who's on the roster to make room for him. And I don't know how that would work. I mean, there's no reason, though, that you can't find room for him. Chas McCormick is struggling. Jose Abreu is struggling. This guy is an outfielder, first baseman. So it's easy to find at bats for him right now. And the people blocking his path aren't earning the right to block his path.
They're not. So, I mean, it's May 1st tomorrow. And I think Houston better start pulling the trigger on some people that can produce, because they're going to find themselves under 500 this year if they don't. And I just don't know how much longer they can wait, because they're pathetic. I mean, they have high-priced ball players. I mean, they have some good ball players with Tucker, and I mean, they have some great guys. But the problem is they're bottom of the order. They're horrible, and they can't get on base and they can't score, and it's killing that team. And I think we'll see him probably come up soon. Imagine. What do you think?
I would hope. There are two people. I mean, with Jackson Holiday being sent back down, he clearly wasn't.
Well, he's batting
he was bad. He was like 2 for 40 or something. So he had to go down. I'm not complaining about the Orioles doing it that way, because if you remember last year, Grayson Rodriguez and Colton Cowser were both sent down, and look what they're doing now. So clearly Baltimore has a management style that has proven effective. Loperfido, it's criminal, but what's more criminal is that Paul Skeens is still in the minor leagues.
I know. And again, I was wrong.
The guy has a 9-1 strikeout to walk ratio, a minuscule ERA and whip. And you could say, sure, he's a command control guy. He doesn't walk that many. That's why it's 9-1. But he's striking out 2 batters per inning. He's averaging 18 strikeouts per 9 to only 2 walks per 9. That is insane. If you're telling me that he needs to stay down there to develop something, it's just a lie. Like that management squad in Pittsburgh is criminal in keeping him down and doing that to Pirates fans. Can
you imagine that his first game in Pittsburgh, all the people that would buy tickets and all the ticket sales, and the game would be close. It would probably sell out in Pittsburgh, and people would be buying merchandise. They'll be happy.
You're saying something because it's Pittsburgh, right? Like,
well, it is a good sports town. Just the Pirates have a reputation of not being a good team lately. But yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, I have him in some leagues, and the problem with him is he's not hurt, so I have to waste a roster spot on him, which is fine. But
but he's one of the ones who kind of makes it seem worth it.
Oh, he's one of the few that him and Junior Candelario of the Tampa Bay
Candelario.
Oh,
you're talking of the minor leaguer.
Yeah, the minor leaguer. He's another A spot that I'm holding on to, because he's another guy that's been ripping the ball.
Caminero is his last name.
Caminero, and they're not bringing this kid up. I mean, I don't know what they're waiting for either, because Tampa Bay can't hit the ball. They're not scoring runs. They're not producing at all. So there's a few guys that I'm holding spots for. Just when they brought up, I'm ready. So but it's just a shame. Every week I'm waiting. It's just another roster spot filled. I could use something else for, but I'm waiting. Let's talk pitchers, Casey. My number one pitching my number one pitching waiver wire pickup for this week is Bryce Elder of the Atlanta Braves. He actually came up and pitched 6 innings his last start, because they're so injury driven in Atlanta. And he scoreless innings, and he pitched last year for them too, and he did well. I mean, for me, I like him, and he's available in a lot of the leagues right now, and just watch him closely and everything. But right now he's the 5th starter in Atlanta, and they like to score runs.
And Atlanta's not a bad team, So
no, they're one of the top teams in the National League. It's Dodgers, Atlanta. Dodgers and Atlanta are the top tier. But who else pitching wise have caught your eye this week? Who are you circling? Who are you trying to pick up? What's
Well,
going
I
on?
think in Detroit, Reese Olson has been awesome. The last 3 weeks or so, I think he's thrown 18 innings and only given up. He's got less than a 3 ERA in that time, a low whip, striking out batters. That certainly helps. One guy, I mean, if we're going for I don't think there's any pitchers available that you're going to pick up and you think like they're good to go, right? Like these are all guys who are probably on a hot streak, and in a few weeks you may want to drop them again. So I don't want to sell them like they're
the next,
get them and
Paul
they're gonna make your team. But for the rest of the season, there's a kid in Toronto who's pitching really, really well, Yariel Rodriguez.
I love that kid. I love that kid. He didn't have a great start last time, but tell us about him though. Go ahead.
He's got good stuff. He's striking out an inning per batter. He's actually got almost a 29% strikeout rate. So he doesn't go deep in games, but this week in his 2 starts, he's facing the Royals and the Nationals. And so, like, again, if you're looking for streamer pitchers to go this week, it's not the worst way to go. Another guy I have on here.
I have a question. I have a pitcher
Sure.
that pitches for the Nationals. Mitchell Parker. I saw him pitch. Great. This guy throws electric stuff. I mean, strikes people out. Doesn't walk that many. I mean, what's your take on Mitchell Parker?
Look, he's been pitching great. I'm not going to deny that. This guy, if you look at his kind of Baseball Reference, what the scouts have said about him is he's a ceiling as a number 3 starter, number 4, number 3 starter in a major league rotation. So he's not going to be one you can expect ace stuff, but it also doesn't mean he can't run off 3 or 4 starts in a row where he looks really good. But just be prepared that there's going to be that kind of start where everybody gets to him.
Now, big news in Chicago, Casey. The manager of the Cubs has said that Albert Alzolay is no longer the closer.
Yeah, it's Hector Neris now, right?
It's Hector Neris now, who pitched horrible the first couple of weeks, but he's pitching great lately. What's your take on Hector? Is it somebody that you want to pick up in your league? Is it somebody that you
sure? Well, yeah. I mean, you spend the whole season chasing saves, right? Like you draft who you think are going to be closers, and hopefully of the 3 or 4 that you draft, 1 or 2 stick, and then the other ones you're scouring the waiver wire. And if Hector Neris is going to be the closer for the Cubs, in daily leagues, just make sure you don't pitch him on a day where the wind is blowing out in Chicago, because as we've all seen, you can hit a pop fly to the shortstop. That would be a home run when the wind is blowing hard enough. But he was great in Houston for a couple years. He has the stuff to be closer. It's with every closer we look at, right? They're going to frustrate you, but right now he's the closer. He can get you saves. His peripherals aren't terrible, so I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chicago, they're good. They're not a bad team this year. They'll be trying to get that title in the Central. They're not going to lose 80 games. They might lose 70. I'm just kidding. But the Cubs to me can be competitive, and I think that whoever's saving games for the Cubs will probably get at least a couple saves a week. We'll see what happens in Chicago.
I mean, even bad teams tend to win close games when they win. So,
any other closers you're looking at, Casey, that I should take a look at?
The closers are pretty rough. I wanted to bring, hey, Angelo, welcome to the show. I wanted to bring this question. I added and started Severino because my opponent already took Tyone. Well, Severino pitched really well yesterday. I mean, he's not going to be the 2019 8 to 10 strikeouts per 9 innings guy, but he's still giving you, I think, like 4 or 5 strikeouts for a 6 or 7 inning outing. I think he went 8 last night, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. And he's got good stuff. He can be really dominant. And the Mets play in a very pitcher-friendly park. They don't have terrible defense behind him. I think it was a smart play. So, Angelo, well done. And he said, and Reed Garrett might be better than Edwin Diaz for the Mets. Certainly, Reed Garrett's numbers, I haven't seen him pitch, but his numbers are like crazy with regards to strikeouts per inning and that stuff. But you never know how somebody's going to. It's different to pitch in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning than it is in that 9th inning when the game is on the line and you need to get those 3 outs. It's amazing the mental games there. But yeah, Reed Garrett's numbers right now are insane.
There's somebody that's hot. Again, this is somebody that I picked up just to ride the wave until he dies again. Is Wilmer Abreu of the Red Sox. He's an outfielder.
It's WILY.
I always had problems with R's.
He was great last night too.
He had eight straight games, Casey, with RBIs.
Yeah, he was great last year, but his cup of coffee last year was good. A lot of people saw him as a sleeper. I mean, he's a power speed guy who seemed to come up clutch. Kamaji has a question. Do I pick up Nick Senzel or Christopher Morel? Both are
Morel. Morel. I have. Morel is not hitting well. He's in the. I believe he's in the low 200s, if I had to guess. And Nick Senzel, Cincinnati farmhand.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know him pretty well.
Another streak hitter. They were both. I'm not in love with either of them. I have to pick one. I'll probably pick Senzel out of Morel.
Well, Senzel certainly the last
not hitting well.
Senzel the last couple weeks has found like his Dustin Pedroia swing because he's not a big guy, but he's found power. He's only hitting in the 220s, I think, over the last couple weeks, but he's put out 5 home runs. But that's not his game, so I don't know how long that's going to last. I remember when Senzel came up with the Reds, they looked at him as a number 1, number 2 hitter who's going to get on base and pepper the ball into the gaps all day. Never quite lived up to it because of injuries, I think. But he has a track record for hitting. Christopher Morel probably has a higher ceiling in the power speed department, but the Cubs have treated him like a yo-yo for the past few years. It seems like he's up, he's down, he's up, he's down, he's up, he's down, and they don't just consistently let him out there to play. If you're looking for batting average help, even though he's not giving it to you right now, Senzel is the better long-term play. If you're looking for power help long-term, I think Morel is the better play.
Yeah, that's a good question, though. I like that. I like when they ask us about 2 players and we can analyze them both, because usually I have at least one of the players or both players in one of my crazy fantasy teams. But yeah, I mean, you want to get these players when they're streaking, when they're hot. Like I just mentioned, Abreu of the Red Sox, Casey. Another guy that's been hitting for average, he's some speed too, and he plays a place where you should have home runs, but they're not scoring runs. Is Colorado, is Brenton Doyle. I mean, Doyle is one of these guys that has potentially like a 30-30 guy if he starts hitting. But what's your take on Doyle this year? I mean, do you think Colorado? I mean, they're just not scoring runs like they used to.
I like Brenton Doyle.
Yeah, tell me why.
I like Brenton Doyle because he's your typical Colorado player, right? He's going to give you. It's the same thing with Nolan Jones. It was this, these guys, Ryan McMahon. They're going to be decent power, decent speed, augmented by Colorado's atmosphere. That expansive outfield leads to a lot of hits. And if you get it up in the air, that thin air leads to home runs. He's not going to be a top 10 outfielder, but he's a great 3rd outfielder on your fantasy roster. I think he's going to hit 270 to 280. He's potential for 20 plus home runs and close to 20 stolen bases if he's given the everyday chance. It's, and you brought up Colorado. I'm surprised I haven't led with this. As you know, I've been talking nonstop about Jordan Beck in Colorado. Well, he got the call today, and he's
got the call.
Yeah, he got called up today. So
Jordan, it's Casey Scheinfeld. I got good news for you. What is it? You're being called up.
They finally listened to me. So I think they're at Miami. So it's not a great park for him to get his debut. I think it's at Miami. I'd have to double check. But
Miami,
he's somebody I'd go out and pick up if I were you.
Jordan Beck, you like. Is he going to play every day, you think, in Colorado? Or
yeah, he is not brought up. I don't think
because the Baltimore brought up Kelston Kjerstad, and he's not playing. I mean, he just sits the bench. It's like a waste of time.
Yeah, but I don't think they're calling him up to be bench depth. I can't see that.
I hope you're right. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to pick that guy back up. That's a good idea. Don't tell anybody in my league about that. What's your, the St. Louis Cardinals dropped Jordan Walker. They put him in the minors. You know, he just
they
wasn't
did that
producing,
last year
wasn't hitting.
too.
And
Yeah.
he's 21 or 22. He's a young kid, so I get it. I'm not complaining about it. But they brought up this guy named Masson Wynn, who actually has been doing pretty well.
Yeah, Mason Wynn he's a top prospect. Let me see
Tell
where
me
he
about
ranks. I just want to give you the exact place where he ranks in the prospect ranking. Give me a second. I brought up a question there if you want to read it. It's about which prospect should you go for, Jordan Beck, Tyler Black, or
Loper Vito.
Loper
I like Loper. I like Loper Vito just because if he comes up, he'll be in that Houston lineup, and he has a lot of good players around him, a lot of all-stars. And if he gets at all involved in that lineup and plays every day, I think he has the best ceiling right now for the year. If you're, but Tyler, I mean, all three of the guys I like, Casey, but who would you pick up out of those three guys if you had to just pick one?
It depends on the league. Obviously, in a
redraft league,
Jordan Beck is the one who's up. So why not take the one who's getting you at bats?
Right. I like that.
Loper Fido, I think, is playing the best right now of the three of them, although Tyler Black in Milwaukee is doing great too. I like Loper Fido for Dynasty or Tyler Black because Tyler Black plays second and third base, and those positions are just sometimes hard to find. And he's a good contact, decent power, decent speed guy. They're all top 50 or 70 prospects for a reason. Jordan Beck only plays the outfield. Loper Fido will probably give you first base and outfield. Tyler Black will give you middle infield, second base, and third base, corner infield. So it depends what your roster needs. I think Loper Fido probably gives you the best power. Tyler Black probably gives you the best hit tool. Jordan Beck gives you the best power speed combo, I think, of the three. I mean, Beck hit 33 home runs his last 2 years in college and stole a lot of bags. He went to Tennessee. Loper Fido's been mashing the ball this year. And I've talked about him for a week. Tyler Black, I drafted in our first year dynasty league as one of my minor leaguers because I love him as a third baseman. So if I was picking up one for a redraft league, I'm going with Jordan Beck because I don't know why.
Dynasty league?
Dynasty league, I'm probably going with Tyler Black.
I like that.
And then Joey Loper Fido is probably number 2 on both lists.
So somebody else that's been ripping the cover off the ball the past week, and I don't know much about him. I'm questioning your knowledge on him. Is Joey Ortiz, the Milwaukee Brewers? He qualifies for second base. I love Joe Adell. We'll get to him in a second. What's your take on Joey Ortiz, Milwaukee Brewer? He had a big week this week. Multi-hit games. He's tearing it up. I mean,
yeah, but he's kind of an average only guy. In his 60 at bats this year, only 1 home run. He's only scored 6 runs and 8 RBIs. He hasn't stolen a bag. So he's the definition of vanilla to me. Like, he doesn't do any one thing well enough to contribute in more than one category. And that's, if you're looking for guys that you're going to count on, you need more. You need at least 2 or 3 categories. I would prefer 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's not a home run guy. You're right.
5 category guys are not going to be on the waiver wire.
You're 100% right.
Unless you get one of these prospects before anybody realizes it.
So Joe Adell, who I know very well, he plays here in Los Angeles for the Angels. Up and down his whole career in the minors, up and down. Bring him up, he fails, they bring him back down. The story of his last 2 years. This year, Casey, look at his stats. He's been ripping the cover off the ball. I mean,
he's been great.
I mean, he's been him and Trout have been just leading the Angels. I mean, those 2 guys have been great. Joe Adell, I think this is his breakout year. We're almost at May 1st is tomorrow. And if you look at his stats right now and his home runs and everything else, I mean, he's doing really well. And I think, yes, you want to pick this guy up. He's available in all leagues. I picked him up last night in a few leagues, and he was I think this is his year. He had so much potential. He was player of the year a couple years ago in the minors in AAA. I mean, this guy is, if all the potential in the world, huge ceiling. I think this is his year. And watch, he gets sent down in June. But yes, I would take a
Mm,
spin on Joe Odell. I think it's worth it. And there's so many guys who are not hitting right now.
yeah.
Castellanos. I
I
mean, there's so
mean,
many guys.
his
There's
his
tons. Pick them up.
I think the problem for Adele was that he went to the Angels. I don't know how else to say it. I don't think, I mean, the Angels signed Mike Trout and got Shohei Ohtani when he first came over. Other than that, I don't
Yeah.
think they've made a good
No, not a good
personnel
signing.
decision
No.
for baseball ever. He was their first round pick in 2017, right? At the age of 18. You know, they brought him up before his 20th birthday or when he turned 20 in the COVID year, for crying out loud, is when they started him. And he struggled each year. They never gave him more. They gave him 88 games in 2022. That's the most games they gave him. And the guy still he just turned 25. So he has his best years ahead of him. He was the number 3 or 4 prospect in the nation in the minors when they first called him up, because he has like light tower power and can run. And yeah, I believe in Joe Adell this year. I think whoever was smart enough to pick him up is going to get somebody they can rely on. Now, that doesn't mean he's 6'5". How tall is he? I think he's like 6'5", 6'3".
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
So
So
I met him in person. He's huge.
I have a feeling he's going to strike out a fair amount and probably have his slumps, but he's running, and that's usually a good sign. That means players are confident when they're running. And if he's confident and believing in himself, absolutely, I think it's the right time to have him.
Okay, I'm just going to go.
Uncle Ted is here. Look at that.
Jacob Young is an outfielder to get. Case,
Jacob Young is awesome.
Tell me why.
Well, he's in Washington. You know, we talk about Dylan Cruz and James Wood as the outfielders in the young outfielders to get. And so this guy was forgotten, and he was never a huge prospect name, but all he's done is bat .328 on the season and steal 12 bags and score 16 runs. He's never going to be a power guy. If you get, a handful of home runs out of him, you should be amazed. He reminds me a little of that Willie McGee, type of player from back in the day, the Ozzie Smith type.
I love all those guys. Vince Coleman, Willie McGee. I love those.
Right. Not going to hit, not going to hit for power, but he just is fast. And if he's getting on base, the Nationals don't have expectations. So they're letting their players be aggressive. He had 8 steals this weekend or something? Oh, look at that, Uncle Ted. Thanks, buddy. Yes. 8 steals this weekend.
8 steals. There you go, you guys. Good.
If he
good
gets on base,
like.
he's gonna run. It reminds me a little of Willie Mays Hayes, right? Who from Major League.
Character, yeah.
Get on base and it's a double, no matter what, because he's going.
How about to say he's like he's a version of Ela de la Cruz, who you mentioned is a bust.
I did not say he was going to be a bust.
Eat those words, Casey Scheinfeld. Casey, I want to ask you a question. The past 14 days, if I told you there's a player who plays catcher who hit .350, had 7 RBIs and 40 plate appearances in the past 2 weeks, would you want to pick him up?
I would. Is that Patrick Bailey you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Connor Wong.
I knew it was one of those.
Yep. Connor Wong, who plays for the Red Sox, catcher. As we know, catcher's a hard position sometimes to find. But Connor Wong, I picked him up in our MFSN league, and I started when he had those 2 home runs in one day. But Connor, if you need a catcher, I like Connor Wong. He's hitting the ball. I mean, he doesn't play every day, so keep track of it. But I mean, he's somebody that I'm tracking that I like a lot that you should pick up. Casey, anybody else that we're missing that maybe that's available in waiver wire? I have a couple more guys. If you want me to mention them, you can kind of comment if you want. I mean,
Jesse Winker has been
another ex-Red
in Washington. Orlando Arcia is playing well in the middle infielder is playing well in the Braves lineup. Ty France, who's only 12% owned. Remember, this guy, like 3 years ago, we thought of him as somebody he should be on every roster, and he's generating harder contact at a higher rate than he ever has before. And me, I'm an exit velocity and barrel rate guy, so I like him as well.
Luis Garcia Jr. for the Nationals. That's cleanup. He's sitting, I think, a cool 293. I mean, if you need somebody to play second base and you're looking at average and everything and batting fourth in the lineup, that's not a bad pickup. What do you think?
Not a bad pickup at all.
I agree. Casey, who else are we talking about? Who else are you looking at? Is there anybody else this week you're looking to pick up? I mean, are you picking up any Chicago White Sox? Anybody at all?
Well, I mean,
Eloy
Jimenez is not hitting the ball bad now. He's not delivering on the promises of him coming into the major leagues where he was going to be he and Luis Robert or Robert or however you say it, were going to be these the Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz cornerstones of the Red Sox of old. Ceddanne Rafaela in Boston is an interesting pickup. He's a power speed guy. He had a 7 RBI night the other night, going 4 for 4. There's a lot of upside with him. He's now playing shortstop for them every day, so he qualifies in the outfield and at shortstop.
Will he play shortstop when they bring up Vaughn Grissom? What's going to happen when?
Well, I think you have to remember the plan for Vaughn Grissom was to be the second baseman with Trevor Story, the shortstop. So Grissom, he may get some shortstop run, but Rafael right now, I mean, Cora has announced that he's their everyday shortstop right now.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, and Grissom's, you mentioned he's in rehab right now. He's playing AAA. They should bring him up any day now. But I'm excited because I have him in our dynasty league. And
Uncle Ted wants to point out that Tommy Pham turned into Babe Ruth over the weekend, and the White Sox scored 17 runs. Tommy Pham is he's always that guy who you pick up and he ends up somehow back on the waiver wire. Is he the one that got slapped?
He's the one played in the Padres.
He slapped Jock Peterson, was it?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, he played for the Padres, got caught at a strip club, got in a fight, and nothing really happened. He didn't get suspended or anything, but everybody made fun of him for a year. Then the following year, he played for the Diamondbacks, and him and Jock Peterson were in the fantasy football league together.
That's right. That's what it was.
And before the game, they got this on camera too. He slapped Jock because he was mad about a trade that happened during the fantasy football season. I mean, unbelievable.
I think we need to have him on the show so he could tell his side of the story. I want to know.
Yeah. That's old news. But and he played for the Diamondbacks last year, had a good season. The Diamondbacks released him. I don't know why. Well, probably because he's a head case. And then the White Sox signed him last week. And as Uncle Ted said, he's on fire. And yeah, you pick this guy up. This guy's always been a good hitter. I mean, he's always been good.
He doesn't have a home run or a stolen base on the season, but
he was just picked up last week. He just started last week.
And he scored 3 runs over the weekend. So there you go.
I mean, the White Sox are just so horrible. And we talked about the A's being bad. I mean, at least they're only a few games under 500. They're not going to lose 50 games.
The A's, the Rockies, the White Sox.
Keep going.
Heck, Houston was 8
games
under 500. Miami's not doing great. I mean,
Miami's not doing. I like Kansas City's picking it up. I like what they're doing there.
I like what Washington's doing, for crying out loud.
Washington's playing a lot of young people. The Red Sox are playing young people.
The Red Sox pitching is insane.
I mean, I like what the Red Sox are doing. I like how they're bringing all these young players. I love it. I think it's great for baseball. I'm just tired of all these older guys making millions of dollars and failing. A lot of the other guys are playing for league minimum and tearing it up. I love that. I love it. Casey, anything else you want to say? We're at our 34-minute mark. We gave a lot of waiver wire ideas you should pick up. Again, tomorrow's May 1st, which is a big day in fantasy baseball, I feel, because you get a kind of feel who you want to keep, who you don't.
You have 5
but
weeks,
I don't make any crazy decisions till these are redraft leagues. I don't do anything crazy till Memorial Day weekend, but May 1st is a good day just to look at your team and say, hey, this guy's hitting 190. Maybe I should pick up this player on waiver wire who's hitting 300 or 290 and has this many home runs. It's not a bad day to set. I'm just throwing it out there, Casey. I don't know what you do, but I give players at least a month to get adjusted. And if they're not performing in a redraft league, I dump them. I mean, of course, not the big stars, but the guys in the middle. I'm not afraid of like people. I'm not.
I also think
care.
May 1st is when I start considering those buy low candidates, ones who've started really poorly, but based on their talent and track record, that once the weather warms up, they warm up. And so, you're looking at, the Corbin Carrolls, the Julio Rodriguez's of the world, even Aaron Judge and Austin Riley, you might be able to get. He's only batting 225. There's been some. Corey Seager's been terrible. Francisco Lindor still isn't batting 200. So there are some guys who you should look to buy low on now.
I agree with you. I agree. I mean, there's a lot of guys. The Julio Rodriguez is a buy low.
And the owners of those players are so frustrated by this point because for 6 weeks they've been saying, oh, it's going to turn around. It's going to turn around. It's going to turn around. And it hasn't. You might be able to get some of those players on the cheap for some of the overperforming players so far.
I like it. Anything we should watch this coming up, Casey? The Yankees are playing Baltimore right now. What's your prediction?
They lost last night. Good pitching matchup between Clark Schmidt and Grayson Rodriguez. But tonight, who's pitching? Let me see who's pitching. So it is Nestor Cortez against Dean Kramer, but it's at Baltimore.
Let me just tell you about something. Cortez has been going deep into these games.
Yeah, Nestor Cortez, because he's not a strikeout guy, so he pitches to contact. And that allows him to go deeper. The problem is if he's not being deceptive, because that's what he gets by on, he gets rocked. And Baltimore certainly has a lineup that can rock you, but they're also young, so maybe he can get away with working around them. But I think the Yankees can pull out tonight. I like Cole Ragans against Toronto because they're not doing anything. Logan Webb going against Boston is a beautiful matchup if you have Logan Webb. You got Freddie Peralta going against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay hasn't been scoring at all. There's some, I'm trying to see who else. Spencer Turnbull, who's been great all season and nobody's given him credit, is going against the Angels.
I do like the Phillies tonight. I think they'll rock Anderson tonight.
Mitch Keller going against Pittsburgh. Mitch Keller going against Oakland.
It's Helen Keller. We call him Helen Keller in the business case. Come on.
There you go. Blind and deaf.
Helen Keller. He's Pirates signed him for multi-millions of dollars. And he's not been performing this year at all.
No, but I haven't given up on him yet. He's done it before.
Okay, Casey. Any last you want to say? Are you excited about the Kentucky Derby? Any final words on who you think's going to win?
I don't think Baffert's going to win.
Is he still banned from the Derby?
Yep, he's still blackballed. So I don't think Baffert's. I don't think one of his horses is going to win. How's that? That's the only prediction I have because I don't know anybody in it.
Love it. Okay, good. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Casey Vlad to the Bone Scheinfeld. We'll be back on Thursday at 1:00 Pacific, 4:00 Eastern, and we'll talk strategy in fantasy baseball, what maneuvers you should do, how to make your team better, just overall everything you want to know about fantasy baseball and afraid to ask. We're here for you, everybody. Have a great week.